Hello, and thanks for mathing with me today. This video is an introduction to decimals. We will convert fractions to decimals, and we'll also convert between decimals and percents. First, let's talk about parts of a decimal. When you have a decimal, anything to the left of the decimal point represents the whole number part, and anything to the right of the decimal point represents parts of a whole. The first place to the right of the decimal point is the tenths place. The second place to the right of the decimal is the hundredths place, and the third place next to the decimal is the thousandths place. In these first examples, we are going to convert from a fraction to a decimal. The first step is to set up a long division problem where we divide the numerator by the denominator. And the second step, we want to continue until we get to the thousandths place, unless otherwise specified. So we want to set up the long division problem such that our numerator, 1, is the dividend of our division problem, and our denominator, 20, is the divisor of our long division problem. As you probably noticed, we can't divide evenly 1 by 20, right? 20 is larger than 1. So we're going to have to add decimal places to our dividend. So we want to add a few decimal places. Maybe we go to the thousandths place. And then from here, we can start dividing. So what we also want to remember is that we put our decimal point in the same place in the quotient as it was in the dividend. So we think about 20, how many times does it go into 1? It doesn't. How many times does it go into 10? It doesn't. So we can write zeros for these. And then finally, we get 20 into 100, and we know that 100 divides evenly by 20 5 times. So then we write our long division problem as normal. And then 20 goes into 0 times. 20 times 0 is 0, and if we finish our long division problem, we are finished. So now we have our quotient, so we see that 1 divided by 20 as a decimal is 0. Make that decimal bigger, 0.50. Let's try another one together. Okay, notice that in this example, I set up my fraction such that the numerator is being divided by the denominator. So our numerator, 7 divided by 3, and 3 does go into 7, so we are going to have a whole number part here, right? 3 goes into 7 2 times, and that equals 6. So let's subtract. We get a remainder of 1. We bring down the 0, and we have to remember to put our decimal point in our answer. 3 goes into 10 how many times? 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. So 3 times 3 is 9. It's going to be the highest number of times that 3 goes into 10. Then we subtract. 10 minus 9 is 1. And again, we bring down another 0. And we see that this is probably going to be a repeating decimal, but we are going to go to the thousandths place. So 3 goes into 10, again, 3 times. It goes 3 times 3 is 9. We get a remainder of 1. Bring down the last 0, and 3 goes into 10 how many times? 3. And you may see this sometimes when you know that it's a repeating decimal. You can put a line over the last decimal place that you write. But we will just round to the nearest decimal. So we are going to say that 7/3 is equal to, or approximately, 2.333. All right, now it's time for you to try some examples. Pause the video and try numbers 3 and 4 on your own. All right, hopefully you paused the video and you found in number 3 that 4/5 is equal to 0.800, or 8/10. And number 4, 9/4 equals 2.250, or 2 1/4. In these next examples, we are going to convert from decimal to percent. To convert from decimal to percent, all we need to do is multiply the decimal by 100. And as you hopefully know, that to multiply anything by 100 means that we move the decimal place 2 places to the right. So if we have something like 0.47, and we want to convert this to a percent, all we need to do is multiply by 100, which means that we are going to move the decimal place two places. So this is equal to 47, and then we're writing it as a percent. So 0.47, when we write that as a percent, the answer is 47%. Let's do another one together. So we have 2.7, and we're going to multiply that by 100 so that we can convert it to a percent, which means remember that we are moving the decimal two places to the right. So here we're going to have to add a 0. So when we multiply 2.7 times 100, we get 270, and then remember we're writing that as a percent. So 2.7 written as a percent is 270. Pause the video and try some examples on your own. All right, hopefully you paused the video and you found that number 7, 0.02 as a percent is 2%, and number 8, 1.4 as a percent is 140%. And in these last problems, we're going to actually convert from a percent to a decimal. So as you may have guessed, if we want to work backwards from what we just did, or undo what we just did when we converted from a decimal to a percent, here we're going to convert from a percent to a decimal by dividing by 100. So in this case, we are going to move our decimal point to the left two places. We can imagine that the decimal, since it's a whole number, is right here after the 6. So we're moving to the left two places, which means that our answer here will be 0.36. So we can write the 0 in the front, or we don't have to. It doesn't matter if you write it or not. It is the same value. So 36% written as a decimal is 0.36. Let's try another example together. In number 10, we see 47.6%. So here we want to divide again by 100. So we're going to move the decimal place two places to the left, which then gives us 0.476. So we could write, like in this one, how I wrote the 0, you can write it like that, or you can write it similar to the way we did in this problem where you put the decimal without the 0. Both mean the same thing. All right, time for you to try some examples. Pause the video and try numbers 11 and 12 on your own. Hopefully you paused the video and found that 55.7% written as a decimal is 0.557, and 3% written as a decimal is 0.03. I hope in this video you had a little introduction to decimals and you learned how to convert between decimal and percent. Thanks so much for mathing with me today.